Today we continue our 2022 year-end list in the world of Canadian mixed martial arts as we've got the comeback win of the year. So this list is a tough one to make because we just don't have the volume of fights in Canada that there is, let's say, in the UFC or in other major organizations. So yes, there are some crazy comebacks that happened this year, but let's say the fights that are lower on the list, it's kind of a stretch. I'm not gonna lie, there are some fights here that ended in the very first round, but yes, one guy started stronger than the other one and then lost, so that's why I kind of consider it a comeback win. But just so you know that it's not every fight on this list that is a crazy fighter getting dominated for 2 rounds and then finishing his opponent and what a crazy comeback win and everything. It's not the case for every fight on this list. So that being said, let's go with some honorable mentions. We've got Mohamed against Matt Speciale at Unified 48. Ramil Kamilov against the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michael at Unified 47. Stephen Beaumont against Michael Hill at Unified 46. Sina Maani against David Chen at BFL 74. And Pat Connors against Yohan Salvador at Samourai MMA 2. At number 10, it is Bursell against Charkie at Unified 47. And Charkie started off this fight really well, as he pretty much always does. But as the fight kept on going and getting harder, you could see that Charkie's gas tank was getting a little diminished, and Bursell was able to mount a comeback in the end of round 2, and especially round 3, where in my opinion he basically delivered a 10-8 against Charkie. So even if some people might have scored the 2 first rounds for Charkie, the 10-8 in the final round for Bursell should have gave him a draw in the worst case scenario. That's not what happened. He won the fight. He was able to mount the comeback successfully, and it's at number 10 on my list. Number 9, we go to BTC 18, Matthew Rusniak against Bilal Mutmayen. And that's one example of a fight that lasted only 1 round. But Mutmayen started very strong, dropped Rusniak early on, and they were just wildly brawling. So that's why I kind of have difficulty putting it higher on the list, because when you just brawl crazy like that, sometimes stuff is gonna happen, and Mutmayen didn't look like he was really too concerned with what Matthew Rusniak was trying to do to him until Rusniak landed a wicked spinning back fist, and he was able to finish the fight a few moments later for a huge comeback win, in the sense that he wasn't winning the very beginning of the fight, but a comeback win too, in the sense that he hadn't fought for 4 or 5 years. So amazing comeback by Rusniak. He gets the number 9 on the list. At number 8, it is Jerico MacPhee against Jesse Heartz at Fight League Atlantic 4. In a fight that Jesse Heartz, the O&O prospect, started so well, was able to land some takedowns and do some really impressive stuff on the ground. But in just one moment, MacPhee was able to completely switch the fight on his end and get a very quick submission on the ground to upset the younger Heartz, who was doing very well in that fight, who was clearly in control of that fight. In just one moment, everything switched. MacPhee showed some veteran savvy and was able to get the submission and get the comeback win in the main event of Fight League Atlantic 4. At number 7, it is Shawn Michael against Tyrell Giselbrecht at Unified 46. Giselbrecht was way more efficient with his strikes and was even able to land a takedown in the first round and gain some really good top control and score some really important points against Shawn Michael to handily win the first round. Then, second round came around. Shawn Michael wasted absolutely no time, shot for a takedown immediately. Couple of seconds later, was able to advance, take the back, and get the rear naked choke in what was really a tale of 2 rounds. As much as the first round was dominant for Giselbrecht, Michael just came out in the second round and just finished it immediately and made everybody forget about this tough first round he just had for the comeback win and the 7th place on my list. At number 6 is the battle of the Keanans. Keanan Patershuk against Keanan Kellar at BFL 75. And this is a really weird fight for me, as Keanan Kellar really came out strong, landed a takedown, was able to do some great stuff on the ground, and then they got back up. We're kind of wrestling against the cage back and forth for who was going to be able to secure the next takedown. I don't know what happened. To be honest, I really don't know if Kellar got hurt, but there was just a point where they were both looking for a takedown. Keanan kind of missed this takedown, ended up on his knees. Patershuk was able to get the top position and just very quickly, from 1 second to another, finish the fight. Just finish the fight. And yes, when he defended, like when Keanan Kellar missed his takedown and fell on his knees, he kind of looked like something was wrong. He kind of looked like maybe he got injured. Patershuk just felt it and was able to land some ground and pound and get the TKO finish in the very first round, but a round that he wasn't winning at all until like 5 or 10 seconds before the stoppage. And at number 5, now we're really getting into crazy comeback territory, as we've got Xavier Alaoui against Fabricio Saraff at UAE Warriors 31. And they were having a cool little fight, both landing their shots, both doing their things. But at a point, Saraff just hurt Alaoui very badly, dropped him. But Saraff got way too excited. And when I say way too excited, he just ran at Alaoui with his hands low, tried to throw a mega uppercut, and Alaoui just went over and landed before and absolutely melted Saraff. Just went from being rocked, being in danger, to melting his opponent in one of the biggest, most violent KO we've seen this year. So major props to Xavier Alaoui, won another belt with the comeback win here, and he absolutely deserves a top 5 spot on the list. That's why I've got him at number 5. At number 4 is by far the most heartbreaking fight this year, as Adam Assenza had a shot at LFA, a promotion where you basically go there, win an important fight, and you can get picked up by the UFC or Bellator or any major organizations. And he was fighting Junior Melo and absolutely putting in some work against the Brazilian fighter, being dominant in every aspect of the game, in what basically looked like the performance of a lifetime for Assenza. But man, in the third round, Melo was able to switch the fight on his head and get a TKO victory with about a minute gone in the third round. And man, this was just so heartbreaking, because I was super hyped up to see Assenza. Like, he was doing it in front of our very eyes, and just in one moment, there's like 1 minute break between the rounds, and third round starts, and it's a completely different fight than the 2 first rounds, and Melo's able to finish him and get the stoppage. It was so heartbreaking, man. I don't want to think about this fight anymore, but it was an amazing comeback, so I still got to put it on the list at number 4. At number 3, it would have been the upset of the year in my opinion, but Laursen made sure that it was not going to happen. It's Laursen, Lorenzo Celis at Unified 43, and Celis had one amazing performance against the top prospect. Was really looking like a guy was going to lose his second pro fight for a little while there, but he was able to mount a comeback, do some nice stuff. But Celis really looked like he was going to shut his comeback down, as he kind of clearly had won the 2 first rounds of this fight. And yes, Laursen was doing way better in the third round, but Celis looked like he was still in control of his thing. But that's before Laursen was able to reverse the action, get the back, and sink in the rear naked choke with about 40 seconds left in a fight that, like I said, he was probably not winning. So amazing awareness for a guy that was only in his second pro fight. Amazing awareness by Laursen to know where he was in the fight, to know in what spot he was in, and just recognize it and jump on a finish and get his first pro win, and the first win of a very, very successful year for him. And at number 2, he did it again. Our comeback win of the year last year could have been our comeback win of the year this year too, as Majed Amo and Neil Anderson were having a rematch for the 145 title at Unified 45. And just like it happened the first time, it basically was the same fight. Neil Anderson was doing some work, was looking good, was cruising on his way to victory, but sometimes in round 4, Majed Amo was able to land a strike that hurt his opponent. He just went bonkers on him, and last time he was able to finish it by submission in an amazing comeback win. This time he got it done by knockout. What an amazing performance by Majed, who once again gets a huge comeback victory for the title against none other than Neil Anderson. And in the 4th round again, which was the exact round where the fight switched on his head last time, so Majed does it again. He's still the champ. What a guy, what a comeback. He's at number 2 on the list. And at number 1, of course, we've got Ryan Rohovich against Josh Kwiatkowski at PFL 72. Let me paint a picture here. Josh Kwiatkowski was rolling back in 2021 before he lost a fight to Lucas Neufeld. A hard-fought fight at DTC, but nothing wrong there. Then came back against John Nguyen and was knocked out by a spinning kick in a very, very good technical performance by Nguyen, but a closely contested fight once again. So there's no way Josh was gonna let his losing streak go to 3. So when he fought Ryan Rohovich, he really came out with a tactical approach to this fight. Yes, was able to do work on the feet, but really found his way on the ground and was able to do some nice stuff on the ground, really dominate his opponent. And like, there was no confusion about who was winning this fight. Josh Kwiatkowski was in full control of the action going into round 3, and he kept on doing some work in round 3. And like Paul Craig did to Magomed Ankalaev, Ryan Rohovich, with about 30 to 35 seconds left in the fight, just found a triangle choke from his back out of nowhere and was able to secure the tap in what was absolutely the craziest comeback we've seen in years on the Canadian MMA scene. And that's why I had no choice but to give the comeback of the year to Ryan Rohovich against Josh Kwiatkowski at BFL 72. This concludes my list of the comeback win of the year 2022 in the world of Canadian mixed martial arts. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more, and stay tuned because we're not done with the list. They're going to keep on coming out in the next few days, so stay tuned for that.